wow, I was going to say welcome. Usually I say hi and welcome, but
Yes.
just straight into a welcome. Hi, and welcome to episode 88 of C3 Crystals, Cauldrons, and Cocktails. I'm Wren,
And I'm River.
and this week we are talking about some fun witchy places to go. I know that we've talked about
Yes.
this a lot, and I'm glad we're finally able to do it, talk about it. And this was requested by one of our patrons, Sarah, Sarah from Canada. So thank you so much for this suggestion, and I hope it's everything you wanted.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about, so we
A
only have a
lot.
couple places. So we're going to
Yeah.
do like a whole set of these
Yeah,
for
multiple
people.
places to go because I
Yeah.
think in this episode we're only going to be talking about three,
hmm
two in deep detail, and you're going to understand why the third isn't so detaily. That's not a word.
It's a
But
Ren word.
yeah, detaily. Add that to my list. But first, what are we drinking?
So we're coming up on June. Actually, this is out June 2nd. So we're in June.
Hmm.
And the full moon in June is the strawberry moon. So Ren's husband said, "Oh, you should make a strawberry moon drink." So
Hmm.
we got some strawberry sherbet and some tequila and mixed them. So it's kind of like a slushy, a tequila strawberry slushy. And I like salt around my rim, and I think Ren likes sugar around her rim, so you can
Yeah,
have it either
yeah.
way.
Hmm.
And so that's what we're drinking. It's nice and cool and summery and wonderful.
Nice and blissful.
hmm
Yeah.
That
And
that could
I
be just the tequila, but you know.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess I'll start first.
Okay.
And what I started with in like witchy places to go, which is one of the places I would love to go, is
hmm
Scotland.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, what better to start off with a little bit of witchcraft history in
hmm
Scotland? Now, it isn't all pretty. It never
Oh,
really is.
our history is not pretty. Nope.
Yeah. So the history of witchcraft in Scotland is a complex and dark chapter in the country's past. It spans several centuries and is characterized by widespread fear, persecution, and execution of individuals accused of practicing witchcraft.
hmm
And it also has like a lot of there's like a overview of witch trials and witchcraft history in Scotland itself, where I'm going to break it down with the periods
Okay.
by period.
Okay.
So in the early period, witchcraft was considered a crime during the medieval times in Scotland. The first
hmm
record of execution for witchcraft took place in 1424 when a woman named Alice Tytler was accused of practicing sorcery.
Can you imagine having your name go down in history because you were the first person killed for witchcraft?
No,
And the last
but
person persecuted in the United States also is famous because she was the
hmm
last one. I mean, just
hmm
crazy.
it's awful.
It is
Like,
awful.
just like you just want to be able to practice what you practice in peace and
hmm
yeah. And then from the early period, we move into the Witchcraft Act of 1563. The
hmm
act was passed by the Scottish Parliament, making the practice of witchcraft a capital offense. The
That
act
means
declared
like
witchcraft,
death, right? Capital
yeah, like
offense. Yeah,
like absolutely like cannot do it. If you are caught, you are sentenced to death
death.
execution.
Okay.
Mhm. The act declared witchcraft as a form of hearsay and provided legal grounds for persecution and execution of those who were seen as witches.
Okay.
So now we move into the witch trials. So from the late 16th century to the early 18th century, Scotland witnessed a series of witch trials. These trials were often driven by superstitious beliefs, religious fervor, and social tensions.
hmm
Accusations of witchcraft were frequently based on rumors, gossip, and personal vendettas, which I know we've
And
talked about before.
yeah, men who were pissed off that a woman wouldn't drop
Yeah,
her panties for him and suddenly she was
yeah,
a witch, or a guy who was
or
a little weird was,
yeah,
yeah.
strong-headed people. Yeah.
hmm hmm
Then we get into and I know I'm not going to say North Berwick, I think it's Berwick,
Okay.
witch trials. One of the
Okay.
most infamous witch trials in Scotland history occurred in Northern Berwick in the late 16th century. The
Infamous
trials
doesn't
were,
sound good.
no, the trials were initiated after accusations of a witch coven plotting to kill King James of the time of Scotland, later James I of England.
Oh, wow. I hadn't
So
heard that.
yeah, I hadn't
Did we
either, and
talk
so it
about
was
this? We talked about
no.
witch trials, but I don't
We
remember
talked,
that
but
one.
we never really got into Scotland
Witches
witch
plotting to
trials.
kill a king. That
Yeah,
sounds vaguely familiar. Okay.
I don't. I when I was doing the research, I didn't sound like I didn't.
It didn't ring bells with you.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
is that I that's King James VI.
Yes. Who is
Yes.
then
Okay.
King James the First of
James the
England.
First. Yeah.
Yeah.
So many innocent people were tortured and executed during these trials because of, one word
Hmm.
of another.
Yeah.
So then now we get into King James the Sixth and demonology or
Hmm.
demonology.
Hmm.
So King James played a significant role in promoting witch hunts and intensifying fear of witchcraft. And in 1597, he published a book called Demonology, which detailed his beliefs about witchcraft and provided guidance on how to identify and prosecute witches.
Wow.
Hmm.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Like he didn't
So,
have enough to do in running the country. He had to
right?
do
He
this
had
too.
to, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Jesus.
I mean, I feel like no matter what group, sadly, this was a group of witches who were plotting to kill him, allegedly, you
Hmm.
know. So allegedly, you had this whole group of people wanting to kill you. I mean, and he just associated it with all witches, and so obviously he, pinpointed it. I would have a personal, thing about it too,
But they probably weren't really
but they
plotting to kill
probably
him,
weren't. Yeah, yeah,
or at least they weren't witches.
yeah.
Yeah, I
I
don't know.
mean, yeah. And then with this led to witch prickers and witch finders.
Oh, yeah.
So during the witch trials, witch prickers and witch finders were employed to search for the devil's mark on suspected witches. These individuals would use sharp instruments to puncture the skin of the accused in search of a spot that did not bleed,
Oh,
which
man.
was, yeah, I know we talked about this, I think,
I
which
think
was
we did
believed to be a
too.
sign of witchcraft. Yeah, I know we talked about this.
Yeah, because I feel like we talked about them using fake instruments that the needle would go
Yeah, yeah,
back
yeah,
up
we
inside
did.
so that they
We
could get
did.
paid. Yeah.
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 So numbers of accused and executed. The exact numbers of people accused and executed for witchcraft in Scotland is difficult to determine. However, it is estimated that hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals were accused and many were put to death during the witch trials. So this brings us to the decline and end of the witch trials, where the witch trials in Scotland began to decline in the late 17th century due to changing attitudes, skepticism, increased scrutiny of the legal process,
Hmm.
etc., where the Witchcraft Act was repealed,
Repealed. Yeah.
and
Overturned.
yeah, overturned in 1736, marking the end of the era of the witch trials in Scotland.
Wow.
So, after hearing all of that, yeah, the history of witchcraft in Scotland remains a tragic reminder of the human capacity for fear and persecution. And
Hmm.
then today, efforts are made to remember and commemorate the victims of the witch trials as a way to learn from the mistakes of the past, which
Yeah.
I thought was really, really nice that Scotland in a whole tries to do that.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and I know a lot of the locations that I'm going to talk about really brings in like the history, and
Okay.
they 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 kind of honor it in a way.
That's kind of cool.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. Because I was
So
thinking with that kind of history, I don't know that I want to go and
yeah, I
visit
don't really
those
know.
places
No,
as a
but they
witch.
they do a very great job with taking their history and learning from it. As for a lot of places, you can't really say that.
Hmm.
Um, but they've done a really great job
Okay.
doing that. This one, so the first one I'm going to talk about is the Witch's Well. Now,
Okay.
there's a little bit more on it. So I kind of hit briefly on all of these because I talked about 8 different places that you could go see.
Okay.
And in some, there were some more interesting facts that I added in. So there's definitely more to research on
Mm-hmm.
these.
For sure.
Um, the Witch's Well is one of the most famous ones. If you type in places to see, like witchy wise in Scotland, the Witch's Well is the first thing that pops up.
Okay.
So the well can be found at the foot of Edinburgh Castle and marks the spot where 300 women accused of witchcraft were burned at the stake.
Oof.
Yeah, I know. The cast iron fountain and plaque memorialize those executed who were denied a proper burial due to the accusations, so their remains were often left where they died. So I think the Witch's Well is just something as a witch to go to honor those who have
Our our past. Yeah.
passed. Yeah,
Hmm.
I would definitely go. This
Me
seems like
too.
a amazing place to go and just, I mean, could you imagine the energy there too?
Oh, for sure.
Like, I just think the Witch's Well would probably be it's not like a place to stay. It's just you go, you take a
Hmm.
moment and you leave. It's not anything where it's like an overnight stay where I have a couple that seem very fun, but
Yeah, that one it would be like you said, a solemn one, but it would be
mhm,
definitely worth honoring past witches and those
yes.
past innocents that weren't witches
Yeah.
that were killed there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. Okay. This one's a little bit better.
Okay.
I give you doom, 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 light and fluffy. So in Scotland, they have the Museum of Witchcraft and Magic in Bowes Castle.
Okay.
So while not located in Scotland itself, it's, Scotland and the UK and England are
Right.
all, this museum is in Cornwall, England, is
Okay.
dedicated to witchcraft and magic and houses an extensive collection of artifacts related to witchcraft.
Hmm.
They are rated 4.7 stars on TripAdvisor, and their description states the Museum of Witchcraft and House and Magic houses. Wow, hold on. Let me start over.
Start
The
over.
Museum of Witchcraft and Magic houses one of the world's largest collections of items relating to witchcraft, the occult, and magic, and they house over 3,000 objects.
Man. No wonder
Mhm.
it takes a castle.
I know, 3,000 objects
Wow.
that are related to magic, the occult, witchcraft. It
Okay.
has been in the picturesque Cornish coastal village of Bowes Castle since 1960 and is one of Cornwall's most popular museums, rated highly on TripAdvisor.
Hmm.
The museum intrigues visitors with its collections of charms, curses, herbs, healing properties like healing objects and
Hmm.
sea witchcraft items.
Oh, how cool. I would
Isn't
love to
it?
see the sea witchcraft stuff. That would be cool.
Hmm. Hmm. Some of their most popular items are magical tools such as athames, wands, and other Wiccan objects, like such as scrying, black mirrors, crystal balls, and collection of protection talismans made by soldiers in the trenches of World War One.
Oh, that's cool. That's very
Mhm.
cool.
The museum also has an extensive library with 7,000 books
Wow.
and an archive of documents which can be viewed online or visited by appointment. The museum does not allow food, drinks, or dogs
Okay.
because, I mean, I can understand that because, like,
Right.
all of this stuff is old, ancient,
Hmm.
all of that.
Definitely.
But it's definitely worth a visit. And I would say the number one on my list.
That would be
That's where
that museum.
well,
Yeah.
that's where I'm going. Well, maybe two.
That's where I'm going.
That's where I'll be there.
How cool. Okay.
I think it's cool. Now, the food and drinks and dogs, I go to eat food, I go to drink, and I have a dog, and they're not allowed in, but I'll let it pass for the amount of things that they have. Like, could you
Yes.
imagine 7,000 books,
I can't even imagine.
3,000 objects related to anything witchy?
That's cool.
I think it's so cool. So next I move into the Witchery in Edinburgh. Now,
Okay.
this was so cool because like you look at it and you're like, "Oh, it's witchery. Like what does that mean?"
Yeah, what
Now
does that mean?
it's not what you think. Um,
Okay.
Now they honor and hone the ideals of respecting witches and everything that happened in Scotland throughout their history.
Okay.
But it doesn't really have anything to do with witchcraft, really.
Really? But
So
it's
the
called the
witchery,
Witchery. How interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
the Witchery is a restaurant and hotel known for
Okay.
its gothic decor and dark atmosphere. It offers a unique dining experience and a chance to immerse yourself in the ambiance of witchcraft and mystery.
Okay.
So they kind of took their history, like the history of Scotland itself, and like
Mm-hmm.
went with it to create
A
like a
restaurant
destination.
and
Yeah.
hotel. How cool is that? So it's
Mhm.
a hotel you can still
Yep,
stay at
yep.
now. How fun
Yep.
would that be?
So I looked at their website and just to see how much it would be to book a room and everything. Their
Mm-hmm.
website itself is dark and mysterious. Like it matches the vibe that they're trying
Okay.
to instill.
Mm-hmm.
It looks wonderful. Their food and wine list make me want to sell everything that I have right now and just go.
I love it.
Um, it's about €1,000 per night. Ooh.
Yeah.
It's a, it's
Little
a
steep.
It's a little pricey, but the rooms are very historic, and it looks like you step back in time.
Okay.
Like some of the rooms I was looking at, like shows who are based in the
Mm-hmm.
Renaissance and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that, and like you see their bedrooms of like kings and queens,
Mm-hmm.
have this. Thinking specifically more of like Rain, the show
Oh
Rain,
yeah.
and
I
they have
love
all
that
these
show.
ornate like beddings, and like
Mm-hmm.
the beds are like these like really nice. It's exactly like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the experience I think would be an experience of a lifetime because it's like you're stepping back into that history. You get to immerse yourself in that type. And
That's
especially
cool.
if you're a witch, this is a beautiful place to stay. You're right there in that history. It's like you're
Mm-hmm.
back in time with the decor.
Mm-hmm.
It would just be amazing. Plus you have that food and the amazing drinks. It just sounds like a
Mm-hmm.
great vacation to me.
That sounds awesome.
Now, €1,000 a night, I might just go eat there. I
Yeah,
probably won't
that's true.
stay,
Yeah,
but
that's
you can
true.
still go and eat there. The food looked amazing. It's basically all like traditional Scottish cuisine mixed with, it's just a little bit of everything. Oh my gosh,
It
it
would
looks so
be
good.
so fun to podcast from there,
It would
to
be.
go to these places and do a podcast
It would
from
be so
there
much fun.
on site live. That would be cool.
hmm hmm So now the next place is called the Isle of Skye, which I thought
Which
this was so
I've
cool.
heard of that one. Yeah.
It's a beautiful like okay, let me just there it's a landscape.
Okay.
So it's known for the stunning landscapes, and the Isle of Skye has a rich folklore tradition.
Okay.
Visit Fairy Glen, a mystical landscape with cone-shaped hills and winding paths with which locals believe to be a place of magical energy and enchantment. And
Okay.
then from Wikipedia, I have the Isle of Skye, connected to Scotland's northwest coast by bridge, is known for its rugged landscapes, picturesque fishing villages, and medieval castles.
Cool.
The largest island in the Inner Hebrides
Don't know.
uh,
Archipelago.
archipelago. It has an indented coastline of peninsulas and narrow locks
Hmm.
radiating out from a monster mountain interior. Okay.
Okay.
And so the town of Portree, a base for exploring the island, features harborside pubs and boutiques. There's a lot of history of the land itself, but there isn't enough time to delve more into this, so I kind of like cut it off right there. But
Yeah.
basically, I'm going to take away these are enchanted lands, basically.
Is this where that the Outlander books are set and the series is set on the Isle of Skye where she goes back in time?
Yes, I believe so.
I think so. I know that that song, the Isle of Skye
Yeah,
song, is their theme song, but I think it's supposed to have been in that portion of Scotland that she goes back
I
in
think so.
time.
It's all just these stunning landscapes of
I wonder if
mountains and hills and
I
cute little
wonder
villages.
wonder if they filmed it there.
Maybe.
How cool would
I
that
could see
be?
that. I could see
Yeah,
that.
I mean
Yeah.
it was gorgeous wherever it was set.
Hmm.
It might be
No, yeah,
Canada. A lot of filming goes on in Canada that is all
yeah,
gorgeous too, but
yeah,
it would be cool if it were really filmed there.
yeah. But I didn't talk entirely about it. There's so much more that you could talk about. You could talk about the folklore. We could talk
Hmm.
about, everything about it. But I just kind of wanted to hit on the mystical properties that this land
Hmm.
offers that Scotland, what do I say? Scotland livers, no, Scotland citizens.
Livers.
Always, yeah.
I was thinking, liver, pancreas. What are we talking about? Internal
No, they
organs
live
here for?
there. Scotland
I'm
residents
a
always talk
Scotland
about this
liver.
being a mystical place for any type of going. Yeah, I know. I know.
You're so funny.
Uh, so now I'm going to talk about the Clava cairns in Inverness.
Hmm.
And I know I butchered that, but
I,
I
I
thought
think I think we
I
had
think
one listener already correct us on something that we had. This might be the
yeah,
same word, but we do our best, people.
we do our best. And I just thought, I was like, maybe I shouldn't do that because I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's something I think very interesting that it would be a nice place to visit based on witchcraft and its
Okay.
history.
So tell me
So,
about the witchcraft there or the history.
so these are ancient burial chambers and standing
Oh,
stones,
oh,
and it's near Inverness, and they are steeped in history and are said to have connections to druids and witchcraft. And
okay.
so the site exudes an eerie atmosphere and is believed to hold spiritual significance. And so from the website itself, like I, searched up Clava cairns or prehistoric, like the
Mm-hmm.
prehistoric witchy lands of Scotland. And from the site itself, Clava cairns, or they're also known as prehistoric burial cairns of Bullnaren of Clairva, are a group of three Bronze Age cairns located near Inverness. It is
Okay.
a hugely significant and exceptional, well-preserved prehistoric site. It is a fantastic example of distant history of Highland Scotland, dating back 4,000 years.
Yeah,
So
I
these are
just
basically
looked
like
up
standing stones.
because I'm like, what exactly is a cairn? I can't picture it. So
Cairn, yeah.
I looked it up and it
Hmm.
says a cairn is a man-made pile of stones raised for a purpose, usually as a marker or a burial
Hmm.
mound.
Yeah.
And it
And
comes
these
from the
are,
Scottish Gaelic. I don't know if it's pronounced cairn, carn. It's C-A with a little slash on it, R-N
hmm hmm
in Gaelic.
yeah, these are 4,000 years old.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So the cemetery was used in two periods. At around 2000 BC, a row of large cairns was built, where three of which can still be seen today. A
Okay.
1,000 years later, the cemetery was reused and new burials were placed in some of the existing cairns, and three smaller monuments were built, including a Kerb, Kerb, cairn.
Okay.
Cairn. I don't, it's Cairn, cairn. I don't,
Yeah. It just sounds like you're saying Karen.
yeah, like a Karen.
Karen.
I know, that's not right, but and then traces of smaller cemetery can also be seen at Milton of Clava, a short distance up the valley to the west.
Okay.
And I'm going to say cairns
Hmm.
at Balnurin of Clava extended along a gravel terrace raised above the river Narren.
Okay.
So excavations have found evidence for farming on the site before any of these monuments were built. The
Okay.
settlement was directly replaced by the cairns, and it even seems possible that some of the material used to build them had been taken from demolished houses.
Interesting.
Now, I couldn't find anything else about how it had connected to druids and witchcraft, but
Hmm.
when something's a burial site,
Hmm.
that's extremely powerful, especially for 4,000 years. Like that's a
Yeah.
strong.
I can't imagine the energy there. I just
It
can't
has to be
even
extreme.
fathom it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Definitely
So
worth a visit for sure.
definitely. And that would be, I mean, could you imagine going there and just like touching those stones?
Hmm
4,000
Just
years.
feeling that energy would be amazing.
Hmm
Okay.
Okay. Now this one, I'm going to butcher the name. Do you want to give it a go?
Take it. The Trossachs,
Trossachs?
Stirlingshire Trossachs,
Stirlingshire? Okay, I'm going to go with Trossachs because I have no
or
idea.
Trossachs, because I know
I
when
know,
they
I'm just going to say the
this
Trossachs. Trossachs.
Trossachs. Okay,
Okay. So the Trossachs,
we're gonna
Stirlingshire.
get corrections on this one. I know
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are.
It's okay. The Trossachs, wow, National Park is known for its picturesque, wow, scenery and association.
Strawberry moons, baby.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was gonna say this is a tongue twister.
Okay.
With Scottish folklore. So this one I only really talk about as like a hit on it. Like it's literally like only five sentences, three sentences that I have. Um, they're basically another landscapes.
Okay.
So
Well, I
the
imagine there's
landscapes,
so many beautiful places over
oh
there.
yeah, I know. And actually these landscapes inspired Sir Walter Scott's Lady of the Lake and immerse
Really?
yourself in the mystical atmosphere of the area.
Lady
So,
of the Lake, like from King Arthur
yeah,
times?
yeah.
How cool is
So,
that?
I thought that was very cool, but like it's just another beautiful scenery.
I
And I
bet it
know
is.
there's a lot of history probably behind it, but again, we just don't have enough time to talk about it. But I thought it was
Hmm
something you guys could probably definitely, oh yeah, you guys are going to Scotland, you guys are going to
Then
England,
definitely,
definitely
yeah.
go here. Yeah.
Okay.
One last one, I think, of of Scotland.
hmm
No, I have two more. I'm just kidding. Uh, so is
JK.
what this one is the Isle of Mull or Mull,
hmm
Mull.
Okay.
Okay. So Mull is associated with legends and myths, including stories of witches and witchcraft. And so it's a picturesque village.
Okay.
Um, and I looked at pictures of this. I thought it was so cool. So, it's
T
Tom
Tobermory?
Tobermory. It
Don't
has
know.
beautiful, colorful buildings along the coast, like right on the
hmm
mountains, like in the water right there.
hmm
And the island's rugged landscapes are also steeped in enchantment. And there were a lot of stories themselves on their website that was super cool to just kind of read. Like, for example, they have mystical happenings where
Okay.
man just dropped dead out of nowhere. Like, I don't know what happened to him. But this was hundreds of years ago. So
Okay. It could
something
have
could have
been
happened.
anything. Okay.
Yeah, but they're like, this is a mystical happening, and they have like more current ones that I can't remember off the
Wow.
top of my head. Oh my gosh, it's so cool.
Okay.
But the pictures are beautiful, and this is a place I would probably go for the food, for the colorful buildings, and
hmm
for it's like literally the mountains on the coast and then water.
hmm
So like
Very
something
cool.
beautiful. Okay, this is the last one. The Hermitage Dunkeld.
Dunkeld. Okay.
Hermitage Dunkeld, located near Dunkeld in Perthshire. See, I got that one.
Okay.
The Hermitage is a beautiful woodland area with towering trees, waterfalls, and the Ossian's Hall, a stunning architectural structure. It is
Hmm.
said to be a place of inspirations for writers and artists and has an air of mysticism about it. So could you just imagine these massive, like tall trees, woodland areas?
I
That's
would
like
love
that
it.
just ring a ding ding, like perfect for a witchy
Yeah.
little outgoing.
Yep. I would love that.
I would too. And I don't know. I feel like I kind of associate myself with like the dark mysticalness
hmm
of, witchcraft. And so that's
hmm
perfect to me. But there are probably people who are listening who are like, ew, no, I work with the sun, duh. Like, so
Right.
maybe, and like Scotland does have that dreary, moody type of
hmm
vibe to it, like cloudy,
It's so
rainy,
gorgeous though.
comfy,
hmm
But if
hmm
somebody's I mean, it's definitely you need to probably go see these at least once in your lifetime if you
Mm-hmm.
practice, because this has history upon history with witches. These places have probably strong energies and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Just honor what's there. But if
Mm-hmm.
this isn't like your vibe, then you definitely you don't have to,
Right.
It's a
Right.
suggestion.
Right.
And then I also want to say, remember to approach these places with respect for their culture and historical
Oh, for
significance.
sure.
And while they may be associated with witchcraft and folklore, it's important to understand and appreciate the stories and beliefs that surround them,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is very important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now do I go into my next
Y-
one, or do you want to
You,
do your next one?
whichever way you want to do it. If you want to talk about Stonehenge next, we can do that, or I can talk about New Orleans.
Okay, I guess I can just go ahead and just talk,
Okay. Okay.
and then we'll end on New Orleans because that one
Okay.
seems really fun.
Okay.
I lost my spot, so give me okay. So now I'm gonna start talking about Stonehenge, which I know we did a TikTok on this one. We did a TikTok
Mm-hmm.
on Scotland and
Edinburgh. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Edinburgh and the Stonehenge. The
Mm-hmm.
Stonehenge. So what is it? What's the Stonehenge? Stonehenge is a prehistoric monument located in Wiltshire, England.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not too far off from, I mean, I don't know, miles or kilometers wise, but it's on the same continent
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
Scotland, where I
Mm-hmm.
just talked about. So
Mm-hmm.
you could basically, if you are on that continent, continent in that
I,
country, I don't know. You just hit it all.
just hit everything over there.
You just go. It is one of the most famous archaeological sites in the world and has been designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Okay.
I've never heard of that before,
Me
but okay.
neither.
I didn't look into it. Should have. The history of Stonehenge spans thousands of years, and the exact purpose and methods used to construct it are still the subject of much speculation and study. So
Yeah,
this
that's
is where I
crazy.
kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
this is where I kind of talked about like this could associate with witchcraft, but there's
Yeah,
still so
we
much
don't
we
know.
don't
I mean, it
know.
it does tie into the our Sabbats, but into the astrological events like the
Yeah,
equinoxes and all that. So,
yeah, yeah. Okay. So here's what we kind of know. The construction of Stonehenge began around 5,000 years ago during the late Neolithic period. The
okay.
monument was built in several phases over a span of approximately 1,500 years, with the earliest known structure being a circular ditch and bank known as a hinge moment, which
Okay.
I don't really know how else to explain it, but this is just kind of how they're connected and what
Okay.
surrounds it.
Okay.
Dating back around 3,100 BCE. This early phase consists of circular bank and ditch with a large entrance on the northeast side. So it's like basically them creating that circular pattern and
Mm-hmm.
using the
Well,
stones to create that shape.
circles are witchy anyway. It could have been
Hmm.
cast as it could have been a place where ancient witches or druids, cast circles
Hmm.
of protection for when they were doing their magic.
Or this just could be a really super large burial site, like the
Could have
cairns.
been. Yeah, yeah.
The most striking feature of Stonehenge is its arrangement of large standing stones. The
Mm-hmm.
first stone circle was created around 2500 BCE during the late Neolithic period. Now, I know the periods and all of that are kind of
Mm-hmm.
blah blah blah, but if you
Mm-hmm.
know like period times, which
Mm-hmm.
I kind of do, I know, yeah. These stones, known as sarsens, are massive sandstone blocks that were sourced from the Marlborough Downs, about 20 miles or 32 kilometers north of the Stonehenge. So whoever created these things,
Mm-hmm.
had to drag these ton sized things, these
That's
stones,
crazy.
over. And so some of the SAR stones weigh up to 50 tons and stand 20 feet or 6 meters tall.
That's crazy.
So, like, Now, you have to also think about the Egyptians. I can always figure out a
I
way to
know,
make the
right?
Egyptians,
With
but
the
like the
pyramids.
Egyptians, when they made the pyramids, they had to also carry these ton weight, like tons. I'm not kidding,
Mm-hmm.
literal tons of stone from point A to point B. And they didn't even
Mm-hmm.
have the wheel that we know of.
Mm-hmm.
So how in the world? Now, I don't know during this time if the wheel was created or not,
Well, I'm just so
but
curious to know why it took from the time that they did the circle in 3100 BCE until they created the first stone circle in 2500 BCE. What took 600 years to do
I don't
that?
know. I don't know. Now,
Interesting.
I think it's cool because I mean, if it is a burial site, then that means that they just added on to the burial that 600 years later, which is
Mm-hmm.
really cool and beautiful and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I would feel like with excavating and, trying to figure it out, we would find bodies, we would find
Mm-hmm.
bones, maybe, I don't know,
Something.
something,
Hmm.
but it's yeah. So inside the outer circle, a smaller inner horseshoe arrangement of stones known as blue stones were constructed.
Hmm.
These blue stones are smaller in size and were sourced from Persil Hills in southwest Wales, approximately 150 miles or 240 kilometers away
That
from
is
Stonehenge.
crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. How
Now,
did they do
they
that? Unless
are
they had,
smaller.
maybe they had dragons
Um,
and the dragons
Plot
flew them.
feasible. Feasible. At this point, I would say yes. Um,
I mean, that's crazy.
no, yeah. But also, I'm not sure if the outer circle versus the inner circle, which one was there first, because some pieces were added in much later.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so apparently, like obviously in 600 years, you're gonna have some sort of advancement where it might be easier to transport or something.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's very cool. The transportation of these stones over such a long distance is remarkable, as we
Yeah.
were talking about, because it's before modern day engineering. It's before anything, before the
Yeah.
wheel. I don't know.
No cranes.
Yeah. Yeah, no cranes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Crazy. Crazy.
So the purpose of Stonehenge is still a matter of debate among
Hmm.
archaeologists and historians. Various theories have been proposed, including that it was a ceremonial or religious site, and like a astronomy,
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah,
Because that
observatory.
it does line up like on
It does
Letha,
line up.
which is coming up. It's gonna the sun is gonna hit it exactly
Hmm.
in that. I mean, so that's got to at least be part of what it was used for. It can't be
Yeah,
coincidence.
yeah.
So
I
yeah.
I see a little bit of the astronomical side to it because I mean it's funny because with the creation of the pyramids, and I know I've said this before, but they're like, oh my gosh, it lines up almost exactly with like Orion's belt, like
Hmm.
the no, not Orion's, maybe Orion.
I
Well,
don't
those three
know.
stars. I can't
Yeah.
remember. Those three stars. And it's like, well, what do you think they had to look at all
Hmm.
day? All night,
Hmm.
I mean, there was no light pollution like how we have now with major cities
Hmm.
because like they didn't have electricity, so their light sources were fire, probably most
Hmm.
likely.
Hmm.
And so when you stare up into the sky, they had to have seen the most crisp, clear images of the stars.
Hmm.
And so I don't understand what's so astonishing to people. And they had to have been wicked smart too to
Yeah. I mean,
create these structures. So it's
and
not hard
they
to mathematically formulate, oh, this is where I need to build this and have this line up here so that it lines up exactly in the same way as the stars that we stare at every night.
they use the stars also for divination and all kinds
Yeah.
of important things in their culture.
Yeah. So, I
So
mean,
to line
it's
their
not
stuff up
so
with the
far
stars, yeah.
away. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's not so far out from having Stonehenge line up perfectly with the sun and certain cycles and blah blah blah.
Hmm.
It's also theorized as a burial site or a place of healing and pilgrimage, which I've heard a lot about that.
Hmm.
Like the healing and pilgrimage is it was like a home base where people could move to and from and have this home base to help take a
Mm-hmm.
break on a day's journey and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So the alignment of the stones with the movements of the sun and other celestial bodies have led many to believe that Stonehenge had an astronomical function, probably serving as a calendar or a site for rituals related to
Mm-hmm.
celestial events. Now, I like the
Absolutely.
calendar thing. The calendar is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Stonehenge remained in use for several centuries with ongoing modifications and additions. Over time, the stones underwent rearrangement and some were
Hmm.
even removed or damaged. By the Bronze Age, the monument had fallen into disuse and it gradually became buried under layers of earth and debris. In the 20th century, efforts were made to restore and preserve Stonehenge. Excavations and research have shed light on its construction techniques and the people who built it and how it could possibly function.
Mm-hmm.
Today, Stonehenge attracts millions of visitors each year and continues to fascinate people with its mysterious and awe-inspiring presence.
That is very cool.
Now, I just have like a little short blib on how it's related to witchcraft.
Okay. All right.
So, Stonehenge has been associated with various methods, legends, and beliefs throughout history, including connections to witchcraft and pagan rituals. However, it is important to note that the specific relationship between Stonehenge and witchcraft is largely based on folklore and modern interpretations rather than historical evidence,
Good point.
because we do not have any evidence. And most of everything that we can think of with Stonehenge is a theory.
And the way we look at things is not the same. I mean, we are putting our own modern culture slant on it. That's the right word. Like I often think about if aliens were to come, if our society just dropped dead with everything standing the way it is, what in the world would they think these monitors and TVs were in every single room?
I think about that a lot.
They'd probably think, oh, it must have been something of highly religious value because they're in every room of every house.
Yeah, exactly. Like a toilet. Like, what do they think a toilet is? Well, I think it's easy to understand that toilet is like our way to get rid of waste because of all the pipelines and everything that we have connected.
Maybe.
But like a swimming pool. I've always thought about this. It's a hole in the ground. And they can't tell whether or not there was water in it.
It was a place of religious, you just don't know what they're going to think.
No idea. So yeah, it's something like this where it could be something completely different and something so simple to, whoever created it, but to us, we're putting all these like twists and turns and trying to understand what it is.
Based on our concepts of things.
Yeah. So off of that, in contemporary witchcraft and modern pagan practices, Stonehenge is sometimes seen as a sacred site and is occasionally used for ceremonies, rituals, and gatherings. Some practitioners of Wicca and other pagan traditions may visit Stonehenge during specific times of the year, such as the summer solstice or the spring and autumn equinoxes, to celebrate and honor the cycles of nature and changing seasons.
And the wheel of the year. Yeah, for sure.
It's worth mentioning that Stonehenge predates the concept of witchcraft as we understand it today. So the monument was constructed thousands of years before the emergence of modern witchcraft traditions. But I mean, I feel like there's always been healers. There's always
been, yeah.
But to our understanding, modern, day witchcraft. And then Stonehenge was likely created by ancient societies for purposes that are still not fully understood, such as religious or ceremonial activities, astronomical observations, and community gatherings, like we've discussed.
Or aliens.
Aliens or dragons
aliens,
Over the centuries, Stonehenge has captivated the imagination of people and has been the subject of many legends, myths, and mystical beliefs. These associations have contributed to the allure and have created a sense of mystery and wonder around the monument. However, it is important to approach the connections with a critical mindset and recognize that historical evidence regarding Stonehenge's exact purpose and beliefs of its builders is limited.
Yeah, and it's just theory. We don't know.
Theory.
We don't
Now,
know.
I would love to think that Stonehenge was created as a way and place for witches alike all around the world to come and celebrate any type of festival or
Hmm.
equinox or all of this, but we just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's used that way now. I think on
Hmm.
Letha, there are a lot of people, a lot of witches that gather there and celebrate. I think that would be amazing.
I
I would
think it'd be
love to do
so
that.
cool. And that's definitely why I talked about this because you can definitely go.
Hmm.
Definitely go for Letha, go for any type of celebration that
Yeah, I
you
was
find
looking
fit.
up. Sorry, there's all kinds of tours and things that you can take and book there. I was looking online when you
Hmm.
said you were going to talk about it, and I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, how cool is that?"
It's so cool. But yeah, millions of people go every year. So why not you be one of those?
Hmm.
Just go.
Just go.
Just
Hey,
go.
Letha is just around the corner. Just go. It's a few weeks
Just
from now.
go. Yeah, it's not like it costs
Honey,
thousands of
we're
dollars.
going to Stonehenge.
Yeah,
Bye.
I'm selling our bed frame and all of that just to cover the flight costs.
Oh, how funny. Well,
Yeah.
I did New Orleans, so closer, a little
Okay.
closer to
I'm
home
super
for
excited.
us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, the history of New Orleans, there is no shortage of supernatural, mystical, paranormal, voodoo, spiritually eccentric folk in New Orleans. It is a city that has a history that's rich in diversity, rich in challenges as well, all of which are reflected in the whole and the beautiful tapestry of their culture. It's a unique place in our world. And then, of course, you probably think about Marie Laveau. She's
Hmm.
undoubtedly the most famous witch to have called New Orleans home. And she was actually known as the Voodoo Queen, not just a witch, but the Voodoo Queen.
Oh.
And Louisiana voodoo is its own thing. It's not like the other hoodoo and that kind of thing out there. Um, Voodoo came to Louisiana during the colonial period. The enslaved people from from West Africa and the Sub-Sahara brought their culture and beliefs to Louisiana, and that kind of mixed with Catholicism and other things that to make this unique voodoo practice and history in New Orleans. Their practice included working with roots and herbs, creating and using charms and amulets, as well as Catholic church things that they brought into their own practice. In 1972, Mary Oneida Toops became chartered and certified as the founder for the nonprofit Religious Order of Witchcraft, which was it finally officially recognized witchcraft as a religion.
Oh,
And if you are an American Horror Story fan, you
me.
might have caught reference to Mary during the Coven season. And if you
Hmm.
don't remember her being mentioned, then you have to remember Madame Delphine Lalaurie, who was really the big bad guy.
Hmm.
Um, and Mary in 1972 held a seance at the Lalaurie Mansion and claimed to make contact with the infamous and notorious Madame Lalaurie.
Oh.
So, where do you go? Where should you go
Yeah.
in New
Yeah.
Orleans? So the first place I found is the Voodoo Authentica of New Orleans Cultural Center and Collection. In addition to being a shop full of handmade items such as puppets and mojo bags, there's also a lot of history and culture on display. And one local says that although the shop is fairly commercialized, as a lot of the shops there in New Orleans are, she
Hmm.
said that these employees really know what they're doing. They took the time to help her customize a bag, a mojo bag for her
Oh.
needs, as opposed to just selling her, oh, this one's in a box on the shelf.
Yeah, this one's perfect for blah blah blah. Here,
Yeah,
it's $100. Yeah.
yeah. They helped her customize what she needed from the shop, and they knew what they were doing. And
Okay.
then there's also the Marie Laveau House of Voodoo shop, which is another voodoo shop.
Hmm.
And it's actually run by Marie's family members, which is cool.
Oh,
And
that's very cool.
it is cool, it's still in the family. And their website says We offer a wide variety of items to help in both learning and practicing spiritual and religious ceremony, tribal masks and statues from around the world symbolizing our ancestors' connection with spirit and earth, talismans and charms directed toward many different supplications. And it's not just for tourists, it's for witches. I mean, there's real stuff that we could go there for the stuff that we need. You don't have to buy witchy stuff there, but I would love to go and buy witchy stuff
Yeah.
there.
I was gonna say I'm sold. You're only
Right?
2 in, but I'm sold.
I know. I want to go. Another thing about New Orleans that is very cool to visit are their graveyards. And, New Orleans is known for many things, and its haunted history is certainly part of the city's heart and soul. A number of companies offer tours with various themes that go through the different graveyards. And you got to remember, burying the dead in a place that's built below sea level was a problem. You couldn't bury them under the ground because you'd hit water. So that faced the residents of the French settlement that came to New Orleans, and they're like, well, what do we do? And so their solution was to entomb the dead in elaborate marble chambers above ground. And so that created one of the city's most lingering attractions, cemeteries that are both historic and just absolutely gorgeous.
Now, I didn't even think about graveyards when I was doing Scotland.
Oh, I'm sure there's some really cool ones.
I'm sure there's some really beautiful ones, especially with all the history. Oh gosh.
For sure.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
That's whenever I go anywhere, even if it's not somewhere super historic, I love to go to the graveyards. I've got a thing about graveyards.
Weirdo. No, I'm just kidding.
I know. Well, we are going to do a after dark episode on graveyard magic at some point, so that will be fun.
Okay.
So the graveyards and cemeteries do have guided tours, but there's a lot that you can actually go and tour on your own, because I don't like to be rushed along. I mean, it is one thing to be able to hear the tour guide tell you the history, which is very fascinating, but I also like to spend time looking and thinking, and I don't want to be rushed along to the next thing from one to the next. So there are ones that you can go at your own pace. So that's something to think about too. And then, of course, haunted houses. New Orleans is considered the city of ghosts. And so there are a lot of haunted houses to visit. And American Horror Story, of course, brought to light one of the most haunted of all, the Delphine Lalaurie house. It's a private residence right now. Someone actually lives there, but it is said to be one of the most haunted homes in the city. Isn't that crazy?
I don't know if I would want to live there.
Such atrocities happen there.
I know. I'll visit. Even thinking of that hurts me.
Yeah, hurts me too.
I'll visit.
Yeah. Such a
I wouldn't want to live
horrific.
there. Yeah.
Horrific. Yeah.
Ugh.
So another thing to do in New Orleans, they have Hex Fest every year.
Oh.
And this year it is August 11th through August 13th of 2023. But every year there is a Hex Fest, and they're actually all over the world now. There's one in Paris. There's, I think, one in LA. They're all over the world, but New Orleans has one. And it is a weekend of witchery held in the heart of the historic French Quarter, which is fabulous. I know.
We're going.
And this conference, it opens on a riverboat with a riverboat ritual and dinner. So you start off the whole week with the weekend, I guess, with a ritual with witchcraft. You start off with a bang, and it is held on an authentic steamboat that goes on the Mississippi River. And then you have 2 days after that of workshops, drumming, rituals, and those all take place at the Bourbon Orleans Hotel, which is a venue that is riddled with a history of hauntings of its own. And
we're going.
I really want to go. Hexfest has gathered witches, root workers, voodoo priests, and other magical teachers from within New Orleans and all around the world. Every year they come and they share their knowledge, and you get to meet other like-minded people. And between all the workshops, then you can go and do some magical shopping. They have an on-site vendor hall, just like Dragon Con does, and you can purchase ritual tools, signed books by authors that are there, magical jewelry, spellcrafts made by true practitioners, other witches. I'm like you, I'm sold. I want to go.
We're going. That's all I can
Well,
say.
we've got till August 11th to the 13th to figure out how to make it happen. And
We'll
we
make
could
it happen.
podcast from there, and
Right?
we could interview other witches.
Oh my gosh.
How
Could you
cool would
imagine
that
going
be?
up to somebody and be like, "Hey, this is my podcast. We want you on it
Come
now."
talk to us. Come talk. Here's some headphones. Come talk to us
Yeah,
right now.
here's a microphone. We don't care what you have to say. We just want you there.
Just say it. Just say it.
Just say it.
Another fun thing happens near Halloween every year, and it is the New Orleans Vampire Ball, which is not necessarily witchy, but can be kind of. It's spooky. And this year it goes from October 28th into October 29th at about 4 o'clock in the morning. So it starts the night of the 28th, and it's actually it goes over a couple of days, but the ball itself is one night, and they have all these other things that you can do. It's described on its website as Venetian masquerade meets a vampire court with the energy of a rock concert and the elegance of a burlesque cabaret,
I like
which is
the
so cool.
energy of a rock concert.
Right? How cool is that?
That's
And
cool.
they already posted what their signature drink is this year for
Oh,
coming up for October. It's called
okay.
the traditional bloodbath, and it
Oh,
is 1/3 chartreuse liqueur, 1/3 Cabernet, and 1/3 cranberry juice. The traditional bloodbath.
oh, okay. I know
Very,
what
very
drink we're
cool.
trying next.
Well, apparently I'm like, what is chartreuse? I know it's a color, but I've never heard of it as a liqueur. And so I looked it up, and it is a liqueur, and it's made in like by these Tibetan monks.
Oh, geez.
And there's only two of them now that make them, and they
Oh,
refuse to increase their production. So it's the supply is not anywhere
okay.
near what the demand is for it. So I don't
Okay.
know that we can find it,
We can
but
we can
it's worth
ugh,
looking for. It's supposed to
yeah,
be a very herbal liqueur.
okay.
So I don't know, because some herbs I like and some herbs I don't like. If it's
Yeah.
rosemary, I don't like rosemary.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't like rosemary.
Mm-mm.
But it sounds like we're gonna have to go in August and then we're gonna have to go in October.
I think that's a plan. And then there's another place that you should visit when you go. It's called Jean Lafitte's Old Absinthe House. And it's a bar, and it is open from 9 a.m. to 4 a.m. every day. And it is
Okay.
named for a pirate who helped end the War of 1812 by defeating the English forces that attempted to advance up the Mississippi River. So
Okay.
they actually met, he and the English officer who met with him to try to convince this pirate to help them because they needed the ships. They met at this house, and that
That's
is where the
cool.
deal was struck. And he agreed to do it on condition that he and his men received pardons for all the pirating that they had done. And that happened. And so they joined the fight and helped defeat the English. And that's why part of why this house is so important. But the other part is this house itself, when the prohibition they tried to tear it down because, alcohol was made
Yeah.
illegal in the
Hmm.
1920s, but they secretly moved it to a warehouse, and they just left the shell of the building, but all of the
Hmm.
interior was moved to this warehouse. And so it survived prohibition. And today it's all back. Everything was moved back, and it's got the same musty brick walls, the same ornate wooden fixtures, the same water dripping fountains for serving absinthe, just like it did in the past.
Wow.
So it's
I
not
need a
like
movie on this.
I know it. It's not like the bars on not River Street, on in the French Quarter that are, full of jazz and people throwing up in the streets. This is a
Hmm.
different vibe than that, but really cool history.
Very cool. I need this as a movie right
Hmm.
now.
I wonder if there probably is a movie about him. It would be
But is it
interesting.
made well? Is it a
Good
good
question.
movie?
I don't know. And then Muriel's Jackson Square. This is a restaurant, and this restaurant, the whole second floor of the restaurant is set aside as a seance room. And the story is that the building, it started off with as a holding facility for slaves being put up for auction in the early 1700s. So it already has an evil past. But then in 1788, that great New Orleans fire partially destroyed it. So a man came in and bought it, Pierre Antoine Lepardi Jourdan, and he spent years and years and years restoring the property and transforming it into this beautiful home for his family. And in 1814, he lost the home in a game of poker. Really, dude? Really?
You're kidding me.
And he killed himself on the second floor. And so his ghost is seen on the second floor. And they actually reserve a table for him on that second floor. And you can book that table. His table where they actually serve him, and you can go and book the table upstairs for an upcharge, of course. But how cool would that be?
That'd be cool.
To go and have dinner in the seance room and look for the ghost of this
That would
guy.
be cool.
That would be so cool. So then I was like, well, it's all well and good to go see these places, but where would you stay when you're there? And so I was like, I want haunted places, of course.
Of course.
And there are a ton of them. So I only did a couple.
Okay.
The Le Pavilion Hotel. This is said to be a haunted hotel where even ghost investigators have actually verified the presence of ghosts. There was one group of investigators, they only found 4 ghosts, but 100 appeared and were documented by another paranormal team.
See, if I go and stay at a haunted house or haunted hotel, I'm scared something would attach to me.
It happens. Guests have seen ghostly figures standing at the foot of their bed when trying to sleep. Sheets have been tugged off guests as they've slept, and strange noises have been heard, which the noises, it's an old building. So noises, not so much, but someone pulling the sheets off me, yeah, that would be a little weird. And then one man said that stayed there. He said this gray-haired woman appeared before his eyes. She sat down on his bed, touched him, and her hands were cold. And she said she'd never let him go, and then she vanished. Isn't that creepy?
See, did she attach herself to him?
Never heard what happened to him after that. I don't know.
No.
The Le Richelieu, Richelieu Hotel. Richelieu, it's Frenchish. Some stories say that the land that La Richelieu was built upon was once a site of numerous executions.
Okay.
And then you also see ghosts of Spanish soldiers wandering the property in their uniforms. And the most common places to see the Spanish soldiers are in the bar and the swimming pool. 2 places that Wren and River would be for sure.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. The Omni Royal Orleans is a luxury hotel, and it is a beautiful hotel. It has fine dining. It's got art and antique stores. It's just a beautiful place. And it also offers the chance to run into a ghost or 2. So some of the spirits that haunt the Omni Royal Orleans have a sense of humor, and they like to play pranks on people. The ghost of a maid from the 18th century likes tucking the hotel guests into their bed at night. It's reported that this ghost goes even further than that. She's been known to flush a toilet or 2 at different times and run a bath.
Okay.
And lights are known to come on in the middle of the night by an unseen ghost. And some spirits will attach to guests and follow them around the hotel, while other guests like to move things around, from places where the guests had hit them.
Wow.
So that's
imagine
fun.
you go and put down something important from your suitcase, and then you turn around, it's not there, and you're just like, where's my deodorant?
Where did I put it? What did I do?
Where's my phone charger? Yeah.
I swear I unpacked it.
Yeah.
And then the ghosts are going
hey, I have it. Yeah.
Wonder how long let's take a bet on how long it'll take her to find it. And then, there's tons of hotels and things that are haunted there that you can stay in, but also keep in mind Airbnb and Vrbo. I was looking on there, and there are some places that you can stay. There was one place that had a room. It wasn't the whole place, but it was a room in a haunted place, which was
Hmm.
interesting. And it had several accounts of ghosts and what you see there. And then
Hmm.
you could also probably find a really cute witchy cottage to stay at if you're
Oh,
looking for that vibe.
probably.
How fun
I
would
would
that
love
be?
that. I would love
Yeah,
that.
especially if you really are worried about ghosts attaching to you or whatever, just find
Hmm.
a witchy cottage to stay
I'd do a
in.
little cottage vibe and just travel into town.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So that's all I have on New Orleans. There is so much, I mean, so much to do there. Lots
Yeah.
of TV shows are set there. There's, it's a cool place. And I actually have
Yeah.
never been.
No, I've never been, and we're going
Yep.
August 11th through the 14th or whatever that last date was.
Yeah, we probably already have to register by now. I don't know. We'll
Oh,
have to look
yeah,
into
you're
it.
right. We're
But yeah,
going.
yeah. And so we might be there, y'all, and maybe you can come be on our podcast.
It would be so much fun.
That would be fun. Okay, I forgot to write out the outro. So you want to do the outro?
Uh, sure. That's all we have. You can find us at our website at www.c3witchypodcast.com. There
Hmm.
you will find links to all of our social medias, our links to our Patreon, all of our information,
Hmm.
stuff on our merch, and also about our subscriptions. We have a whole page on subscriptions where it tells you what you get with each subscription. So don't
Hmm.
forget to look at that before you guys subscribe.
Hmm.
And I don't know
Oh,
what else.
speaking of, for the patrons, I am making I'm working on a Sabbath preparation books. Fill in the
Hmm.
blank to help. And so I'm working on the Letha one now. I'm hoping to get it up soon. I'll put some free pages on there for you. It's too long to offer the whole thing, but I'll put on some free pages, and everybody else, you can find those. You'll be able to find them soon at my store, my Etsy, bats and
Hmm.
baubles Etsy.com. My store,
Uh,
the link is on somewhere.
yeah.
Anyway, so
Yeah,
don't forget that.
I just put a spell up on Patreon as well.
Mhm.
And then I have been coming up with some recipes since Letha is coming up, and I know we need
Yay.
some recipes. So I have a couple recipes that I'm posting on Patreon and maybe something else or so. But I think
That'll be
that's
fun.
it.
Yeah, my Letha workbook, which I'm going to do one of these workbooks for every Sabbath, so that
Hmm.
if you want to plan something elaborate or if you want to plan something simple, it helps walk you through the questions to ask and what to do. But on my Letha one, I also have 2 recipes that I'm including in that booklet.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah, fun stuff. Thank you guys for listening.
Yes, thank you so
We
much.
really appreciate it. Thank you for
Hmm.
our supporters. You guys
Yes,
rock. We've had
absolutely.
some new ones on come on board. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We couldn't do
I
this
always
without
love it.
you.
I love it when we get a new subscriber, and
Hmm.
not just because they're a subscriber, but because every single time most of them go, "I found you. I've listened to all these episodes and y'all are fantastic, so
I
I'm
know.
subscribed." And it just makes my heart so happy that you guys enjoy us enough to even listen to our podcast.
Yes, that it makes our day. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
And until then, stay witchy.
Woo!